Woo! I've been reminiscing about my Thailand adventure recently because I'm going home soon. Not for any extended period of time, just 24 days. I'm going to be back in the UK. I realised this has been a rite of passage for me. This has been me growing up. This has been me going into a new stage of my life. And I really believe that it has been beneficial for me, this entire adventure of moving to Thailand on my own and trying to make something of myself. And I wanted to share with you how you can create your own rite of passage, because traditionally, a rite of passage was used to take a boy from being a boy to being a man. And there was ways that this was done. A man would take his son hunting and they would stay out in the woods together for 4 or 5 days, and they would sleep on the ground and they would get cold and he'd have to kill an animal. And then when he came back, his mother and the people in the community would respect him more and treat him like a man. And he had that cut off from, okay, I'm not a boy anymore, but now I'm a man. And in the modern day, because of the way our lives are set up, we don't have the ability normally in families to do this for our sons, for our fathers to do this for us to do this for our sons. It's difficult with the way that life's set up. So I really believe you need to make your own rite of passage, even if for the only reason that it proves to yourself that you have become a man now. You need something to allow yourself to treat yourself like a man and stop behaving and treating yourself like a boy. So let's get into it. What is a rite of passage? It's a ceremonial ritual. It marks progress through life. So it will test and signify when you're ready to move on to the next stage. And for example, one of the best rites of passage I can think of that is still around today that you could do if you wanted to is joining the military, where you get taught discipline, hand-to-hand combat, working with other people along a whole host of other things. I don't know, I've never been in the military, but it has this very clear process of taking in boys and churning out men, and it's not something that everyone completes. A rite of passage is something that's difficult, so not everybody is going to get through the challenge, and that's what makes a rite of passage so beautiful, because there's that risk, that danger of being ashamed if you don't manage to do it. The way a rite of passage is set up is you have to leave the familiar. So it's like leaving the home. If you're 18 years old, you've never been away from home, it's leaving the home or leaving the nest for a certain amount of time. And then you make a transition, a time of testing, like the boot camp for the army where they become a soldier. It's a time of testing. So it could be you leave home alone and you go climb a mountain, and that mountain will have trials and tribulations, things that you need to do and conquer and become to get through that, challenges you have to face on your own by yourself. And then you come back and people can see the change in your growth. They understand and respect you more because they know the challenges that you've been through, making life on the return much, much better for everybody involved. So how do you build your own rite of passage? How do you decide something that you can go and do to turn yourself into a man and mark that difference between boy and man? What I think you need to do is identify a fear. So for me, I was scared. When I actually thought about it, I was scared of being isolated and alone. There was this fear in my head of what would I actually do on my own? And for me, the fear, weirdly enough, it came as spiders. So when I was thinking about being alone, the scariest thing for me was being alone, like in an apartment like this or a house like this, and there being a huge spider from outside in the jungle. Because if any of you have seen where my house is, there's a jungle outside. I live in the middle of the jungle. There's some huge spiders. And that was my fear, was being alone and having to confront the spiders. And that was how I was thinking of it in my head. That was the real challenge for me. And so the biggest thing holding me back from moving to Thailand was that fear of being alone and that fear of having to deal with problems without the help of my friends. Because I remember thinking, well, I'm not actually that scared of spiders when I'm with my friends, because it's funny and life's funny and you can just have a laugh about it and they can help you out. And I realised that's pretty much how we feel about life. Life isn't that bad when you've got company, when you've got people around you, but it feels scary if you'd have to do it all on your own. And that's why I forced myself to do this. And I had to confront that fear. That actually happened to me. So I was in a place called Koh Phangan. It's an island very close to Koh Samui. It's about 30 minutes away. And we went to a party in the middle of the jungle. It's called the Lost Paradise Party. And you get on a truck and you go 45 minutes on the back of this truck, 4x4, into the middle of the jungle. And when you get there, there's like a hut with a DJ in it, and the rest is jungle. And it's this sort of crazy, it's a very sort of hippie, drug, mushroomy, psychedelic party. And when I was there, I ended up in the toilet of this place. And when I say toilet, it was not a toilet. I was there alone, totally alone, in the middle of the jungle, in a small wooden hut that had a hole in the floor where you had to sit in and go to the toilet. And I, at that time, was quite new to Thailand, and sometimes the food in Asia can really get and irritate your stomach. So I was having terrible diarrhea. I'd shit myself like 3 or 4 times the previous week, but I was still going strong. You just get on with things. And I was at this party and I needed to go to the toilet badly, and I was a little bit tripping in the head. So I sit down on the floor, and to this day I won't know if what I saw was real or whether it was imagined, but I sat down on the floor in agony, unable to stand up, just shitting my guts out. Pardon, just sorry that that's so vulgar, but seriously, just feel my pain. I just couldn't move. I was cramped up. It was bad. And I was in the dirt and I was sweating. It's the jungle. It's 30 degrees. I'm feeling bad. I'm alone. I'm pretty scared. The whole party's a bit weird. And next to me crawls a spider probably the size of my hand. Right next to me, right past my leg, just on the floor in the dirt. I'm sat in the dirt. I'm sat in a hole in the dirt, shitting myself. And this spider walks by, and I'm so filled with pain and just exhaustion, and just that I seem to get this, the brain seemed to, my spirit seemed to just separate from my body, and I didn't have to feel the scare. I just decided not to be scared. I was like, this is so terrible. I just disassociated myself from my body, and I learned an important lesson there about dealing with pain and dealing with problems and issues and dealing with being scared. And this spider walked by and I saw it and it was scary, and I just thought, oh well, it's a spider. I'm focusing on not dying here, so I'm not too bothered. And the spider walked on by, and eventually I got off the toilet and wiped, and I decided to get myself home, and I drank water, and I woke up in the morning and I thought, wow, I overcame my fear of being alone and being in the worst situation. And I think what you find in those situations is, when you are alone and the worst happens, you find a way through it. It's never actually that bad. You'll always find a way, but you have to force yourself to understand that. And now I respect myself a lot more because I was able to deal with something I previously would have thought was the scariest thing ever. And then you come back. You come back from conquest. Now, when I came to Thailand, I vowed I would not come back to England for even a holiday until I've made something of myself, until I had developed my business, until I was living freely. When I came out here with savings, and I didn't have enough monthly coming in off my fitness business to support myself. So I was coming and sort of burning through my savings. And by the time I went back to the UK, even for just a visit, I wanted to be fully sustained by my online business. I've managed to do that, and that leads me to now going back, having built and made something abroad and overcome fears and challenges that I feel have changed me as a man. And whilst I've been in Thailand, I mean, that's one story. I could tell you 20, but I've lived maybe 2 or 3 decades worth of experience, I feel, in just the short time I've been out here. So that's how you build your own. You find a fear, you confront the fear in a way that makes you grow. Mine ended up being a pretty weird way, but we got through it. And then you return back from conquest a changed man, and in return people see and respect you more, and you can go on to another stage in your life. For me, I want to stay here. I'm going back and then flying back out here. I love this place, but that is just my example of how you would go about building your own. So yours could be as simple as finding a fear, which is being alone, the same as mine, but then you go and do this. So this is a challenge for you. If you want a rite of passage that you can do at home, pretty much for free, this is my challenge to you. So it's 3 days in the woods, 3 days away from home, camping, out in the wild, could be anywhere, but isolation is probably the best, like a not very well used camping site. And you spend 3 days there alone, without social media. So what I would recommend you do is take your phone, because you want to have your phone with you in case something goes wrong, you get ill, you need something, but just leave it turned off in your bag, or take a very simple phone, like get a Nokia brick phone, put some credit on it, take that, you're not allowed anything else. That's probably a better idea, because I reckon if you just turned your iPhone off, you'd be on a dopamine detox kind of from the social media, so you turn it on the second day. But take enough food and water for 3 days. Go find somewhere to camp. Take a few books with you that you feel will improve your life. 2 or 3 books maybe I've recommended in the past. Maybe 4-Hour Work Week, Way of the Superior Man. The 4 Agreements is a very good one as well. And read these books. Do some learning, do some exercise, do press-ups every day. Have a fire in the evenings, find a river to wash in, collect firewood, make your food through the day, journal, write, and just spend 3 days alone and sleep alone and find out whether or not you actually have what it takes to spend time alone in the woods and face the fear of being alone. Now here's an advanced one. This is one I've not done, but I've always wanted to and I will do in the future. And it's the Camino de Santiago. And it's a 500-mile walk across Spain. And I recommend you do it alone. It takes roughly 5 weeks, walking 15 miles a day with the occasional rest day. And the reason why I feel this would be such a good one to do is because we know that hard times create strong men, and walking 15 miles a day is not easy. Doing something you don't really want to do is not easy. And it's that whole thing of self-improvement kind of comes down to rites of passage. Rites of passage are like weeks or 3-day bursts of intense self-improvement. Intense spiritual and body self-improvement that you get from doing serious challenges alone. If you do the Camino de Santiago with a group of 4 friends, you will have a lot of fun. You will learn a lot of things. You'll have a great time. But I don't feel like you will grow in the same way as you would if you were to do it alone, because you're so much more open to meeting new people, and you're so much more scared and have so much more to overcome when you do things alone. If any of you have done it or you want to do it, put it in the comments below. If you feel like you have a rite of passage you want to share, or one that you went on, give us the story in the comments. And if you made it this far, you're part of the clan. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. And if you haven't checked out how I tripled my testosterone, built my physique, just became more confident, and built a clan at the same time, go check it out in the description. It's the Gorilla Tribe. If you're not a part of it yet, just go check it out, boys. See what you think. Now, let's make this outro. Self-improve yourselves and gorilla yourselves and eat bananas.